Greetings and welcome to Savannah African Art Museum. Yes, it's March, so it's Women's History Month. But before I tell you about what we have in store for you, yes, we're wearing our masks. We're still wearing our masks here, but I can remove this because our camera person is way across the other side of the room. So, thank you for joining us. And yes, Women's History Month. So, this March, we brought back our African female hidden figures. It went over so well last time. Well, you all told me that, so we brought it back. So, this year, we have two programs for you. And so the first one, as I said, is African female hidden figures. Our second program, I am excited to share with you another history maker and a servant of the people, our very own Savannah, former mayor, Edna Jackson. Yes. Now, Edna Jackson, as you know, was our first female African-American mayor of Savannah, who served from 2012 to 2015. But her servant of the people was long before that. In her early teens, do you know that she worked with the NAACP as a youth council member and traveled all over the South, registering people to vote and organizing sit-ins at lunch counters? Yes, our Mayor Edna Jackson was one of the members of that movement. And this was at a difficult time, but she was a teenager at this time doing this. And she was up and down the roads all through the South, through Alabama, all through Georgia and Florida. And then she didn't stop there. She also was a social worker. She earned her master's and her bachelor's at Savannah State University, and she was a social worker. So she did social work here as well. She didn't stop there. She served in several capacities at Savannah State University. She also worked with the successful campaign to elect the very first African American mayor of Savannah, Floyd Adams. And then she served under him as the alderman at large. And then under the next mayor, Otis Johnson, she served as mayor pro tem. Then she served as Savannah's first African female mayor from 2012 to 2015. But her servant of the people doesn't end there. Mayor Jackson is busy daily. She's still mentoring, serves on several boards, and then she took the time to come here and sit with us. And we had an audience with Honorable Mayor Edna Jackson as she sat and talked to us about two trips she took to Africa. And one of them was to Ghana, and the other one was Nigeria. And both were mission trips. And so you are going to hear her speak about that. So just sit back, relax, and soak it all in as Mayor Edna Jackson speaks to us. Well, good morning, Mayor Jackson.
Good morning.
I am so happy that you are here at the Savannah African Art Museum as we are celebrating Women's History Month. We are just so pleased to have you here. And when I first talked to you back in July, when we were so proud that you selected our venue as a place to do your, I think it was Woman of the Year.
Oh, yes.
For the United Way. We
Right.
were so pleased that you selected our venue to be the place where you would be interviewed. And so when you were here and we were having an audience with you, and you were telling us about all of the different things that you had done through civil rights and here in Savannah and all over. And then when you mentioned that you had been to Africa, you had been on two trips, you had been to Ghana and you'd been to Nigeria, I said, oh, we should have her come and speak about that here. So at the time I didn't think about it for Women's History Month, nor did I know that both of these trips were mission trips.
Yes.
And I had no idea. So, as I always say, we speak about with the rest of the staff, you have not given up your servant work. You are continuing that.
Thank you.
In our intro, we speak about all of the things that you've done from when you were a youth, was it with the
Youth task force worker.
Youth task force worker with the
NAA.
the NAACP.
Yes.
And then traveling all over the South and voter registration and everything. And then you worked at Savannah State University for like 30 years.
Yes.
And then so many things. And of course, making history as Savannah's first African American female mayor. So you have continued, as I said, as a servant worker for the people, a servant for the people, and we appreciate that. So today, we want to talk a little bit about your trips to Africa. So we know that one was to Ghana, and
Yes.
then the other was to Nigeria. So let's first talk about the trip to Ghana, because that was in 2000.
Yes. You know, I was at Savannah State at the time, and our president, Dr. Carlton Brown, and the vice president, Dr. Pete Silver, wanted to build a relationship with Ghana. Both had been over and they had made connections, but they wanted to have an exchange program with the University of the Cape Coast and the University of Ghana. So that was the mission, to go over and to introduce ourselves and to see how we could build the relationships by exchanging the students and faculty as well. And I can say until that day, it is now continuing with Savannah State.
Wonderful. And so that was, who all went with the group?
There were a number of people, but and you know, it's been a while,
Okay.
so I cannot remember a lot.
Okay.
But Dr. Otis Johnson was a part of the entourage that went over as well.
Wow.
And you know, the good part about it is that it included faculty and staff from the university.
Wonderful.
And that was the lead, because it gave us to do a different kind of in talking with the people in Ghana. They got to see the people in the hierarchy, those of us that are working within the university, and others that were part, and people from the community. So that was a good part about it. And we made many friends over there. It was a little story I was wondering when we went over. You wonder about food. Yes. And I was a little heavier then. So I said, well, I'll just see what they're going to have over here. Mm-hmm. And the night that we had our dinner, we had red rice.
Oh, okay.
And I knew it's called jollof.
Yes.
And it's prepared differently, lots of spices. Mm-hmm. The food was so good. Mm. But not only that, we had a chance to meet so many people while we were over there. And if I'm going to travel across that many miles, I did not go to sleep. Mm-hmm. So my thing was, before the group got together again, we had just arrived. I wasn't sleepy, I was excited. Mm-hmm. And we were not far from the market.
Okay, gotta hit the market.
And I had, and there was a young man that came up to me. He said, I know Dr. Silver, Dr. Pete, Pete Silver. Mm-hmm. And so I knew I could not go without someone's knowledge. Mm-hmm. And so I called Dr. Silver. I said, do you know this young man? He told me he could take me to the market. So he said, oh yeah, he's okay. And he took, and while some of them slept, I shopped. And when they came back, I had everything ready to show them. Excuse me. And of course, they wished they had not gone to sleep as well. But we went there for a mission, and that was the education. So Dr. Silver and Dr. Brown had arranged for us to meet some of the leadership in Ghana, those that were in Parliament, Kojo Yanka, Mr. Kojo Yanka. Mm-hmm. But when we got to meet the Ashanti Henny
Yes.
was a joy.
Yes.
Yeah, we knew the protocol and all, and this was our first time meeting. And of course, when you meet the Ashanti Henny, there are certain things that you can and cannot do.
Okay.
And he had just been stooled, I
Okay.
believe, within a year before we went over. And so we went to the palace and we had an audience with him.
Wow.
And it was magnificent.
Wow.
He's still sitting, he's
Yes,
still the
yes,
reigning.
Yes.
But not only that, I think we impressed him, our delegation impressed him so much until he made it easier for us to move about. And also during the evenings, Dr. Silver and Dr. Brown set up for us to have a lecture series. It was
really?
not all, it was very educational.
It wasn't just social.
We went to very sites that were there, and my recall is not as great as if you had Dr. Silver sitting here. But Kumi, we got to read the books and all of people that work for the liberation, and which was wonderful. We have to see the sites, W.B. Du Bois, and it was just educational for me, but for me it was like going home.
Yes, exactly. And I'm sure that the people that you were meeting were so pleased that you all were that interested,
Yes.
that you had that interest. So I'm sure that they felt very good about taking you about because you were eager and interested. And then, of course, the exchange program, then it had more credibility. It had more value because of that.
That's right. And then as we traveled for one area, but one thing about it, in Ghana, if they know there is a delegation that are coming, then the Ghanaians will come and they will bring their goods and show them to you, and you can purchase, or they can make them for you.
Okay.
And that was good too. They measure, and we were going from there, of course, to the Cape Coast.
Yes.
But you had to get the start. You had to see Ghana.
Right.
And then we went from there after we met all of the individuals that were important, that Dr. Silver and Dr. Brown introduced us to. We had to tour the other part
Yes.
and we went to Cape Coast. It was rewarding,
But yes.
but you're absolutely right. This is where Amelia Island, where the castle,
Yes.
where they enslaved the slaves.
Yes.
They raped the women
Yes.
before they were sent to America.
Yes.
And they also had a way of putting them in a dug out cave. And we went in there, and it was something about that cave that I couldn't take. It was, I don't know whether it was the odor, it was a stench and it just made me angry, and we walked through. But what I didn't realize is that the cave, the bodies of the people that died were there. So that means that our ancestors are part of that cave. And they would take the men and the women and the children, and they would starve them.
Yes.
Because they would take them when the ships came in to the gate of no return,
Yes.
which was a very small gate.
Very small.
Very small
narrow.
gate, yes, because they knew if a person died, the reason they had to keep them, that a body would float. Eventually, the body was going to come up. So they were in the cave. So in that cave, it said to me that our ancestors are speaking.
Yes.
And that's what I got out of it.
I've never been to Ghana, but I went to Senegal.
Yes.
And I went to the doorway of no return. And what got me was just how small it was. And I'm just thinking of how many people, I don't know if the size is the same as it is in Ghana, but I was just thinking how many people were packed in there and how they must have been scared.
Oh, yes.
You know, not knowing what's going to happen from here, why they're here, and whatever, and then to be starved and naked and just, it was just, I cried like a baby the whole time.
Well, and I guess that's what, you become angry.
Yes.
You become sad. But at least I can say that I learned.
Yes.
And I can respect so many things that our ancestors did. And that is what we're not telling. We're not telling the story of what they did.
Exactly.
Even after they came here to these United States,
Yes.
they learned the language.
Yes.
Secretly, some learned to read.
Yes.
They came in the shores of Savannah. You got to think about that. Savannah was built on the backs of slaves.
Yes.
And there were other cultures here that also came. You had the Irish that came as indentured slaves.
Yes.
And that is a difference.
That is different because they knew that they could buy out their freedom, and there was an extended time, there was a length of time when they knew they were going to be free.
That's right.
That was very different for the Africans.
That's
very different.
Very different. And so we need to learn how to tell the story. I appreciate you inviting me to come because I don't have all of the story. There are so many people that have gone so many times that can tell you so many different things. But on our trip to Ghana, we were fortunate enough. I think we like in Savannah, they say if you come and you step in the city of Savannah, you may live here from there on, or you will return. Or if it's your first trip, like I was talking with some ladies the other day that were tourists, and I said, you should buy a home here. One said, I'm looking. And they were coming here for the St. Patrick's Day celebration. Yeah, so it lets you know that Savannah is a city of many ethnic groups.
Yes.
But the Africans that came here, presence is all throughout this community. The buildings, the streets, the cobblestones on River Street. One time someone years ago said, well, it's so rugged, and why don't we, just pave over? Never. That is history. That is why people come to Savannah. Yes, you may have to walk, kind of careful in order to really appreciate it.
Right. Exactly.
But it is a part of African American history, African history, and the history of Savannah.
Yes, it is. And you know what? History, sometimes it makes you feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
You learn about things that you're very uncomfortable with. You learn about the good, the bad, and the ugly. But we must learn about it all, and we must deal with it. We have to deal with it. We can't act like it didn't happen.
No.
We have to deal with
That's
the
right.
history. And you know what? Many say, well, I wasn't there. I didn't do that. My ancestors do that. But you know it now.
Yes.
And what do we do about it from here forward?
Thank you. One of the other good parts, I think, was that in going to Ghana and meeting the Ashantahene, we invited him
Yes. I know.
to
Please tell us
come.
about that. Yes, I know.
We invited him to come to Savannah. So he was on a tour of various spots in the United States. And Dr. Silver, when we heard that he was coming the city planned, not just Savannah State, the city planned for him to come.
Wow.
He, and I believe there were, and I'm not sure of this number, I believe there were about 10 chieftains, tribal chieftains, that came with them. I was so excited. I was so excited. I was really so excited. And then I was selected to meet them in Atlanta. They came in out of New York. And we had planned with Atlanta's government to make sure that when they got off of the plane, that they would be there to receive them. And that happened with a special cart for them to ride. So I met them in Atlanta, and I flew into Savannah with them. And it was such a wonderful, I was, how would I say that? I was honored to have been that person.
Well, we have a photograph of you and Dr. Silver and his wife, and then your companion.
Oh, that's great. Yes. Well, I'll tell you, he is Oxford trained, and when he came. They wear suits, but they also wear their native outfits. When it came time to move about the city, it was according to the schedule of how they dressed. Sometimes they were in business attire, other times they were in native, but they always wore these giant rings. Each of them had these gold rings. And maybe they were tribal rings. They were lion heads or elephant heads or giraffe head. But they were always dressed. We put them up at the old Mulberry Inn that had so much class. And it was such a place. And the king enjoyed it. He enjoyed staying there. And we had a grand opening affair down at the Savannah Museum, and we invited Ghanaians to come in from all over the state of Georgia, and they did. But also, it helped us in setting up the exchange programs as well.
Right.
So when it was time for them, and I think one thing that the Shante Henne did, the Shante Henne, we had a little altar for him to sit, and all of that. But what he did in the Ghanaian culture, when you are in his presence, you talk through his interpreter.
Okay. Not directly to him.
Not directly to him. When he came to Savannah, he put all of that aside.
Did he really?
Yes, he did. And he talked to us. Wow. And I can imagine, when we were over at the museum, he said, "Edna." I said, "Oh, he remembered my name."
Wow.
And he just intermingled, and his chieftains, and they just had a wonderful time. So when he went back, he toured Princeton, and I can't remember his other stops. He had to go to New York. And when he met with the group in New York, someone asked him, "What was your favorite place?" And he said, "Savannah."
Did he really?
He said Savannah.
Wow.
So it helped us really in kicking off and getting off to a great start through the exchange program and the relationships that we have with Ghana at this time. It has continued. Dr. Silver has been appointed by the governor, the president of Ghana, I believe, and I can't remember the title, but it doesn't cover just Ghana. It covers the African nations over there, and he is the head of, I can't remember.
Well, I'm going to ask him, and I'll put that on the website.
Please, thank you so much. So we have it there, and I wanted to go back twice, but because of because of illness and other circumstances, I had to cancel my trip.
Well, there'll be another time. There'll be another time. So that's incredible. Absolutely incredible. I'm so glad you're sharing that. I'm so glad that our audience will get an opportunity to hear about this, because they know a lot about what you do here in Savannah, but I don't know how many know about this trip and all that happened, and that it was so fruitful that it continues to bear fruit.
Yes.
So now let's talk about, you had a trip to Nigeria in 2007, and that was also a mission, and this was a health initiative. So tell us about that.
Well, Dr. Nwasu, the cardiologist that was here in Savannah, had a group called Mercy, something in Mercy, come to me. But I think every other year, he would carry a group of physicians, nurses, health people, and others that wanted to go, pay your way. But the whole thing was to go and help the villages surrounding his area in Nigeria. And I chose to go. Pharmaceuticals would give medicines, they're like, the little gift that, and we had to sit in his office and accept them because they had to be repackaged.
Yes.
And there was a relationship, and still is a relationship, with St. Joseph's Hospital and Paul Hentry. It was a partnership. That's right. And many things have happened since those trips. But when we got over at that time, I had become the mayor pro tem of Savannah. And Van Johnson was, I think, vice chair of council, I believe. I'm not sure. But anyway, we went over. Yeah, our current mayor. That's right. So we decided that we went at our own expense. It was the most rewarding trip that I've ever had. We went over, and all of the people knew that we were going to be there. We had Dr. Manocho, the eye doctor, was there to do removal of cataracts and eye surgeries and what have you. Well, I didn't know what I was going to do. So they trained me, Dr. Nwasu and some of the other staff trained me how to read the prescriptions in order to disperse glasses. And we had labeled the glasses according to strength and what have you. So I had to learn that. I worked in the eye clinic. Now the eye clinic was just a big open space. And then, we had doctors that did simple surgeries that were over there. There was a baby delivered because the people would come from the surrounding villages and camp out.
Yes, when they hear that you're coming,
that's right.
They line up, they travel.
Yes.
Because I've worked with a group in New York. I worked with a group and the doctors, and the doctors and different volunteers and whatever, and they would go, and you would get there and you would see lines of people, from what I understand, that bringing family members and everything.
So we would, but as we would do and see the people, we had a baby born there, and they named her, I believe it was Mercy. Goodness and Mercy was the name of the organization. But when you saw the people of how thankful for the simple things. And Dr. Nwasu's wife, Mary, also had a group of ministers, or assistant ministers, that went over, and they did Bible studies. One of the most interesting parts that I could see, as we were giving people glasses and fitting them for the strength and what have you, because of the hot sun, they get all these cataracts and have these diseases. And they will say, when they thank you, even if it wasn't the best, they could just read a little bit. Yes. So they would say, thank you, now I can read my Bible. Oh. It was always, I can read my Bible. Wow. We had one man, and we weren't sure what we were going to do, because you've seen the people that have the what I call Coca-Cola glasses. Mm-hmm. Well, his strength was gone, just that bad. But we found a pair of glasses. Wow. And this man just bowed. They wanted to just bow to you and thank you and what have you. But the most exciting part that wasn't the most exciting part. That was the most exciting part. But we lived at the compound that Dr. Nwasu had there. And his brother, his brother lived right down from him. And other, people kept some of us. Well, I lived with Dr. Nwasu and some of the other nurses and other people. Well, we would go back in the evenings, and I always would run to take a shower. Because remember, everything is operated by generators. No electricity, generators. So you had to carry your flashlight just in case the lights went out on you. Right. So one day we got back, and I would always run to jump in, take the shower, so I could do a little hot water, And Dr. Nwasu said, Edna said, we're going to debrief. And it was my birthday. Okay. And so I said, okay. I said, what time? He said, we're going to do it now. And we didn't have any air conditioning over there. So I needed to put on some clean clothes. And, So I said, okay. So we sat around, we debriefed. He said, okay. And he said, I know you like to be first. So I ran into the shower. When I came out of the shower and I came outside, and his Mary, I think his wife said, we have to go out the back. And so I said, everybody, there was this big gathering there. I said, we're having a party. I said, oh my goodness. Look, is this something that the village had? They said, and everybody started singing happy birthday. Oh, I had a surprise birthday party. Sweet. Oh my goodness. And I was in tears, and it was on my 18th. I was September 18th. Oh, it was actually on your birthday. It was actually on my birthday. Wow. So then the ladies of the group carried me back inside. And they had made, and I wanted to wear it today, but I was thinking of the reflection because it's gold. Oh, okay. But
well, I have to say, you look absolutely beautiful in what you're wearing today. You look so regal. It's absolutely regal.
They made this for me as well. Ah. But the gold one that they made me, they had not measured me.
They don't have to. Somehow, I've had that same experience. Like, how did they know? How did you know?
I'm telling you, and it was made similar to this one, but it's more fuller in the bottom, and it was gold. Gold threads. Really? And so I said, oh my God. So of course they made this one. I'm wearing this in their honor too. Oh, wonderful. Because they were so good to us. And we had a chance to go and meet the governor of the province. He welcomed us well. Not only did he do that, you know how Nigeria is. You never know if there's going to be a coup. And we were moving all about. We didn't feel different. We didn't feel that we needed anything. But from that day forward, we had a military escort. Wow.
Because I understand, I've never been to Nigeria, but even my friends that are from Nigeria, they say sometimes you can just get a road stop and you don't know, and you don't know what might happen. You just never know. So, I mean, that's incredible that you all were able to move about, and then you got a military
Escort. Yes. Not only that, there were several occasions that that they held for us, and since I was the mayor pro tem, I think they said I was the highest ranking person. That was on that side there. I thank them, but they gave us many things to bring back, and plaques that said thank you. From the area, and it was wonderful. And there was another group of ladies that we were in this. Dr. Nwasu carried us to show us where he wanted to put a medical clinic, which has turned into a hospital.
You did mention that. So just imagine that you saw where he intended to put it back in 2007, and then again, something else that came into fruition.
Yes.
Wow.
And it was during that day that there was a group of ladies. They wear special outfits. And we were on this big open field, and they had this truck. And when I went over to that truck, they honored me. I was undressed again. And they put this outfit on me that they wear. And it is an honor to be a part of this group. And they gave me my name.
Wow.
And it was such an honor. When Dr. Nwasu's daughter had one of her ceremonies here when she was married, and part of that group was here. And I wish I had known, because I would have worn an outfit, in honor of them. But it's such an honor. It's so ceremonial over there. The one thing that I like about the culture is that they respect and they honor their leadership. And that is a good thing. And that is why I think even, in our culture, when slaves were brought over, I think the slaves in some way felt that wherever they were assigned to work, if they were in, let's say, the big house, they wanted to stay in the big house. And the slaves in the fields were looked down on.
Yes.
And they realized if they were going to stay in the big house, that they had to make sure that the master, knew what was going on. Now that is what as you look at our culture, as you look at us as a people, we must learn what happens in Africa more so than some of the things that happen to us here in the States. But we are a surviving people.
Yes, we are definitely.
We're a surviving culture.
Yes, we are.
And we know that we have to survive. And no matter what, like my grandmother used to say, there are always going to be crabs in the barrel.
Always.
But as long as you reach high, you can always stay out of that barrel and move forward.
Yes,
and that is something that our young people have to know and that we have to teach them. We are no better than the people that we serve. Exactly. And that is what, people always said, well, people just love you or like you or respect you. And I always tell them, respect is earned.
Yes, indeed. Exactly.
Respect is earned.
It's not just
A title does not give you respect, but the way you carry yourself will give you that. And that's a message I try and give to young people.
Well, you know what? Well, you live it. You live it every day.
Thank you.
I moved here in the summer of 2011.
Oh.
Yes, I moved here from New York in the summer of 2011. And one of the first things I did was I get my driver's license, I would get my Georgia driver's license, and I registered to vote.
Oh, great. Okay.
And it was an election
Yes.
2000 that year.
Yes.
And so I had to talk to people and see, well, tell me about this person, who's running with him. And so many people told me so many good things about you. So, and then I was like, well, let me read about her. And then, so there was no question. If I didn't know who else I was voting for, I knew I was voting for you for mayor. So that was my first opportunity to vote, and I was able to vote for you.
And your vote helped.
Well, I will say one vote does count. So I will say that. Yes, indeed.
People lose by 2 or 3 or 12 or, you vote.
Yes.
That's, we have had to fight. As women, we have had to fight. As African Americans, we've had to fight. Minority groups have had to fight. Just look what is happening in this world today. Just look what is. People are shooting people because of their ethnicity. My heart goes out to the Asian community. Well, I won't say where I think it came from, but what is happening to our generations? We have to live to work together. I came out Savannah, believe it or not, we may have been segregated in a lot of ways because we had to fight for a lot. But we have also been diverse in some of our communities from years back. And the African American community and the Jewish community have always
That's what I've been told.
always worked well. Because they were in our community and they had stores, grocery stores and what have you. You knew them, they knew your family. I know if I did anything before I could get home, Peppy had told my grandmother and I had to get the switch. You never forget those things.
Yes, exactly.
And
So
I am welcome.
Yes, but I know that you do too. I still have hope.
Yes.
I have to still have hope. And I'm so happy that you are still out there mentoring, still in service, and so many people, adults and younger people, are being mentored by you.
Thank you.
And that's wonderful. And it's important. And I know that you were mentored by some very good people, W.W. Law,
Yes.
and then I think it's Gadsden, Gene Gadsden.
Yes.
Yes. So, and many others that were
Lord.
supportive and
Yes.
helped. And so we have to continue that. And
Yes.
that's the only way that we can move forward.
Let me add to what you're saying now. I look at our government, years back and stuff, and how we brought change here in this community very effectively. But one thing that my grandmother always said is that, as you go up the ladder, you pull somebody with you. And I look at what we have done. I look at Dr. Otis Johnson. I called him the academician, the scholar. He's a scholar. And we were students together. He's older though. But he has always mentored other people like Van and all of us. But one thing that we have to learn as a people is that when people get out of office, doesn't mean that they are old and dead.
No.
And I learned from so many people when I went into public office, it's different than being out there as the advocate. I remember when I first went on city council, I latched myself as hard as I could to Gwen Goodman.
okay.
She taught me a whole lot. And I will never forget or tell people how much I appreciated her. I can say that some of our leaders today have honored us by coming and asking questions, which is great. I enjoy talking to young people. They ask, and I look at what they're doing. You see if they follow recommendations or they have forgotten. And you should never forget from whence you've come. Yeah.
Well, it's also important that there are people, there's leadership that's open to people asking questions.
That's right.
And take the time to answer those questions.
That's right.
And you are one of those that do.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you,
Thank you
Mayor
so
Jackson. We really appreciate you. And we here at the Savannah African Art Museum really appreciate you taking this time to be here with us today. And we're hoping that you'll come back again. We hope this is not the last time that you're here. And we're hoping to do other interviews.
Thank you. One thing, this is one of the best museums. I wish that people would come and see all of the art that is here. You feel like you're in Africa. Whether it's West Africa, South Africa, or what have you, you can feel the spirit. You can feel the ancestors in this building.
You heard it from Mayor Edna Jackson. Well, thank you so much for coming. And please come back again.
Anytime.
Thank you.